Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm back with more alcohol inks. This time I'm making a rainbow background. It's something I'd done a little bit recently playing and really enjoyed the fun effect of that. So I'm going to show you how to blend those together. I have my little swatch sheet out here with all of my different colors and just showing how I kind of quickly picked my colors. Any shades would work, but I used watermelon, sunset orange, lemonade, limeade, turquoise, and amethyst, and I'm using Yupo paper. This is just the lightweight. You can use any. You could also use alcohol ink cardstock. It reacts a little bit different, but for this one I'm using the Yupo. And then again, I'm using this little blowing tool that I recently got off of Amazon. It's made for cleaning off lenses for camera lenses. You can also use a straw and blow through. I tend to kind of get out of breath when I do that too much and accidentally spit on it or something like that. So I've really loved this blowing tool. And I'm starting off with some alcohol blending solution, just kind of blend it across, and that's going to allow the ink to move and blend together and kind of spread out easily. And I've got all my inks sitting there. I took all the lids off and lined them up in a row in rainbow order. It makes it a little easier just to put the color on without having to mess with the lids. And then if I decide to come back and add more color, it makes it easier to quickly do that. And you can see how that tool just kind of moves the ink around. I've done this some with a heat tool as well. The nice thing about cool air like this is it's easier to blend and keep adding just one color at a time and blend it in without it drying that blending solution that I put on kind of as a base to allow everything to blend and mix together. So this is kind of a cool air. It does dry it a little quicker, and I actually kind of like that because when I finish I feel like it's a little more dry. I still like to set it aside and let it dry very thoroughly before I try and stamp on it or add any extra embellishments or put anything over the top, because it does still take a little while for it to fully dry. Now that I've got all my colors on, I could quit right then. I just kind of kept looking, and where I felt like any of the colors maybe weren't quite showing enough, the less you mess with it, I found the smoother the effect will be, more of a smooth ombre as it blends out. The more you kind of keep blowing, it's going to dry that blending solution and dry the ink. So you'll get a little more of the fun lines and detail in it, which is kind of fun, and I like that too. So it kind of depends the look you're going for. And you can see on the top edge of that, I had more blending solution and it blended out to a little more of a soft faded edge. Along the bottom, the ink blended in and it kind of went out to create kind of a dry edge, which adds a little more of a crisp line. Again, all just fun different effects, and I love how every time you use alcohol inks, every single time it's going to look different. No two are going to look alike. The effects are always going to be different. It has a little bit of a mind of its own, but that adds just to the fun of the surprise. You never know how it's going to turn out in the end. But basically with each color I like to start with just 1 to 2 drops of each one and then add more if I want. Sometimes some colors are deeper and more pigmented, and that's an easy way to make sure you don't get too much. So I set that aside to dry. I actually leave it overnight usually just to make really sure it's thoroughly dry. But for this video I had the background I showed at the beginning was one I'd made previously, and they look very similar, so I went ahead and pulled that one out to go ahead and finish this card. So if it looks a little bit different, it is actually a different background, but it's the same exact process and everything that I'd done. But again, the alcohol inks, you're going to get a little something different every time. So for the background on this, I'm stamping the Gnome from Things Take Time. I've seen other people have used archival ink. You can heat emboss on this if you're careful not to overheat it. I've really been happy with Stays On ink. I like to stamp it on twice with my Misty, and I know once it dries it's going to be smudge proof and it's going to stay where I've stamped it. So that is the ink that I've chosen to use to finish this off, and then I'm just going to add my sentiment underneath. And the beautiful thing with this colorful background is it lets that simple black stamped image and the sentiment show and shine, but it adds so much fun, interest, and detail and color to the card. This is such a bright, colorful, happy card. I really love the effect of the rainbow in the background. And there you can see I popped it next to the other background when it had finished drying, so you could see them both together. Thanks so much for coming by today. Have a wonderful day.